everyone, Carol from Segovia Quilts here. Let's talk about pantographs. If you're a long armor, pantographs are a very handy tool to have in your quilting studio. About 95% of all of my quilt clients ask for specific pantographs for their custom quilts. Because of that, I'm using pantographs all the time. While they're very handy to have and use, you can occasionally run into a problem or two with the pantograph. One of those problems is halfway through your quilt realizing that you don't have enough space on your take-up bar to finish your pantograph rows on your specific project. It can be a very stressful thing to realize when you're in the middle of a project. So today's video is going to show you how to fix it without having to do any math and without having to actually move your pantograph pattern. So let's get right into it. All right, so let me show you what I'm talking about as far as you're doing a pantograph and you've run out of space, as in the pantograph that's on the back here of your long arm, the laser that I'm using to trace over my pantograph here. So I'm going to put it down on the tip right here. This is the lowest point of my pantograph that I have throughout the entire quilt. So that little light is right there on the lowest point. So let me show you here. So right here, my machine is touching this back roll. And so right there was where my laser is on the lowest point. I have maybe a quarter of an inch that I can play with, where I can still probably do one more row before I have to adjust my placement. And so that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to show you how to move the quilt and your machine so that you can go more that way without having to like redo your entire pantograph back here, because I have mine taped down. So I'm going to show you how to do it super easy. And you'll probably be thinking, why did I never think of this myself? Okay, so first what I've done is I have already advanced the quilt so that I can prepare to do my next row in my pantograph. So now what I'm going to do, hopefully you can see it over here. So now this darker section here is the part that I'm actually tracing, but there are shadow versions of the pattern below and on top. So now the shadow versions is what you use when you are advancing your quilt. So I will, once I've done my row, I will put my red laser right here on the tip of this little design, and then I will advance my quilt with the needle down in the quilt top until my red laser gets to the tip of the shadow version of the same design. So once I get here, that's where I stop. Then I know I'm ready to go ahead and do my next row. So now I'm ready to go ahead and get set up for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tip of my, or the point of my laser on the tip of this shadow point right here. So I'm just going to pull my machine over here, line it up, and then I'm just going to go needle down. So now my needle is down in stitching that was this right here before I advanced it. So that is where my needle is presently. So now what I need to do is I need to move the quilt, essentially unroll the quilt a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I really only need like, I don't know, maybe 4 more rows of my design. So I'm only going to move it forward maybe like 2 inches. I think that'll give me plenty. And I'm not measuring it out. I'm not doing anything like that. It's just going to kind of eyeball it. So I'm going to unlock my roller here and I'm going to unwind it a little bit. So that's probably way more than I need. So let's go a little bit back. So that right there is about 2 inches. Again, I'm not being super specific. Okay, so I've locked my roller. I know you can't see it because it's down here a little bit, but let me zoom in so you can see my laser dot right over there. Okay, so again, before I moved it, my laser was right here on this tip. Now it's about 2 inches above that right there. So now all you need to do, let me zoom back out just to make sure you can see my laser here. And you might not be able to see the actual laser, but you'll be able to see the laser dot moving. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen my laser here. And again, you can't see it because it's behind the roll. And I'm just turning my laser a little bit and go. Let's see, all right, so we gotta tighten this. Okay, and I need to turn it a smidge. Whoop, too far. I was trying to turn it without having to loosen it too much, and I loosened it too much and then it moved. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to tighten that back down. There we go. All right, so it's a little, it's maybe like 1/8 of an inch off, and I could keep playing with it. Let's see. There's that. There we go. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. So again, hopefully you guys can see that. Let me zoom in a little bit more. So now, again, my laser was about right here. We adjusted the laser so that it's back on the shadow tip of this little design right here. So now, all I have to do is take my needle out of the quilt, and let me bring you, here, let's zoom back out, and let me show you what we did. Okay. All right, so again, we'll go ahead and put my laser on the tip, the lowest point of my design, right about there. Okay, so that's the lowest point of my quilt design. So now let's go back over here to look at the machine. Zoom out just a smidge so you can see. So now, okay, so right there my foot is where the lowest point of my design is. So now I have all of this extra space. So again, lowest point of my design is right there. And now I've got about 2 extra inches that I really needed so that I can finish the rest of my rows of my pantograph. See? So it's super easy. Again, you don't have to like move the pattern. You don't have to do any crazy math. You just use the shadows, again, of the pantograph designs. Now, this specific design is from Urban Elements. I get all of my designs from them. So I do believe all of their designs have, again, the darkened one, which is what you actually follow, and the shadow version of the same pattern. So again, you just put your laser on, you know, a spot on the shadow. Like I like to use points instead of like curves, so I'll put it on the point right there, and then I will put my needle down in my quilt top right there, and then all I do is I unroll my quilt from the take-up bar. I unroll it again. This one I just did about 2 inches, and then I readjust my laser so that it's back on the same tip that I had it on, which was that one, and then you're good to go. So now I can go ahead and do my next pantograph row, and I won't have to worry about bonking into the rail back here because I have an additional 2 inches. Hopefully you found today's video and tutorial on how to fix this kind of common problem with your pantograph Hopefully you found it very helpful. If you have any questions about today's video, or really anything quilting related, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. If you liked today's video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber to our YouTube channel yet, please make sure you do so by hitting the subscribe button. And until next time, we will see you in the sewing studio later.